So Jeff says, congrats on 4 years. Time flies when you're having fun. Isn't that the truth, Jeff? It's hard to believe it's been that long. It's funny, if you guys ever are curious, you can go back, you can go to our YouTube channel and just look up Hump Day Hangout episode 1 and just watch 5 minutes of it. That's probably all you'll be able to stomach anyways. But it's, we've come a long way. There's not much has changed. I mean, it's still Google Hangouts, but, we've come a long way in our ability to present information. That's for sure. Me especially. I'm a hell of a lot more comfortable talking with you guys now than I was back then. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny to go back and see that. Bradley has talked over and over about specializing in a niche. So when first starting out, how do you pitch the client that you were an expert in their niche? Well, I didn't, Jeff. That's the thing. You hear the cliche, fake it until you make it. And there's some truth to that or some validity to that. But at the same time, I don't like to be dishonest. I've always tried to run my business where I'm 100% transparent and honest with, and you guys probably know that from following us, right? I tell it exactly how it is because I fail more often than I succeed. And I share that just as much as I share my successes. And I try to do the same thing with clients. I try to be honest with them. So when I first got started out, that's part of the reason I really went into lead gen originally, was because I didn't have any results to show anybody. Like I had no proof. I had no credibility, right? I was not a credible. I wasn't credible because I had nothing to show. And so that's why I got into lead gen initially was, there was a couple reasons. One is because I really started to learn SEO and everything so that I could generate leads for my own business. But then I realized that, and it's funny, I'm actually writing, a new story, I'm writing my story out right now. I've been working on it for the last 3 or 4 days on how I got into this business and the struggles that I've gone through over the last, since 2010 when I got in. And I'm doing that because we're revamping everything in Semantic Mastery to follow one very specific path now, which is what we've learned over the years works. And so we're revamping like our entire message and everything to really focus in on that. And so Adam, and that's part of, every single year we get together for a week, guys, my partners and I, to plan out the next year. And so that's what we did this past week when we did POFU Live. We stayed in DC together for the week and we basically planned out for the next year. And so that's what we're commencing on that now, on all the work that we planned out for the next year. And the start or the tip of the spear is to start with our messaging being coherent and consistent now throughout everything that we do. And that all starts with really my story and how I got started in this business. And this is to answer your question, Jeff. That's why, as I was writing the story out, I'm working on that right now. It's fresh in my mind. I started generating leads for my own business in Culpeper as an electrical contractor. And it was super easy because this is a rural town. There's virtually no competition. Even to this day, there's little competition in this town for SEO stuff, for digital marketing, because it's a very rural town. There's not a lot of population. So I was able to get results for my own business like almost overnight. And I didn't even know what the hell I was doing at the time. So I knew I had a lot more to learn. So I started building lead gen assets for other types of contractors. I started with carpet cleaning and locksmith services, but then I went into plumbing, HVAC, and a couple other things too, for some contractors that I knew that I worked with as an electrical contractor. So anyways, but I started building these sites just to get practice, right? To practice with SEO and to try to figure out what worked, what didn't work. And then when I found something that worked, try to repeat it on another property and that kind of stuff. And that over time, over the course of about 2 years, I was able to build, a dozen or so, it might've been 15. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I had somewhere around 10 to 15 lead gen properties built over the course of about 2 years. Many of which I'd say probably 70% of which were producing, fairly good amount of calls. But what I found throughout that process also was that a lot of industries that I thought would be good industries to generate leads in turned out not to be good industries. In other words, it was very difficult to monetize some of the industries that I was in, carpet cleaning being one of them, because they have such low profit margins in the carpet cleaning industry. They have a hard time justifying marketing expenses. So here's to kind of come back to your answer, your question, Jeff. my landlord, who was actually was my business partner when I launched my agency in 2012, after I had built all these lead gen assets, he actually pushed me. He knew a tree service contractor, and so he said, "Hey, why don't you try generating leads for a tree service contractor?" And I said, "Okay, yeah, why not?" I was trying all different kinds of stuff at that time, mostly all contractors, but I was building all these lead gen assets. And so I built a lead gen asset in Manassas, Virginia for a tree service contractor. And next thing you know, we started making a whole lot of money from leads from that company. And that's when I realized that like tree services was a great place to be in for generating leads because the margins are so high. It's almost all labor charges and very few or very little, if any, material costs. So it's almost all labor. So it's almost all markup. And because of that, that's when I decided the tree services was going to be an industry that I wanted to spend a lot of time in. And so I started building tree service sites, lead gen sites for this one contractor. And after I had 4 or 5 of them built, now I had a portfolio in one specific industry that I could use to show other tree service contractors. Does that make sense? So I didn't tell anybody that I was an expert at first. I would just, that's part of the reason I got into lead gen, like I said, because even in 2012, when I opened my agency, I had kind of a hodgepodge or I had a bunch of different types of lead gen properties. And so I wasn't an expert in any one industry at that point. And even when I started on tree service sites and I built 5 or 6 of them, I still wasn't an expert in the tree service industry, but at least at that point, I had enough properties in one particular industry that when I did speak with other tree service contractors, I could show results that I had. And not just one property, but multiple properties, right? I could say, hey, look, I got this one and this one and this one and this one, and look at the amount of call volume that these 5 properties generate and blah, blah, blah. And all that kind of stuff really helped me at that point. So I know that was a long-winded answer, Jeff, but I think this is a great opportunity right now, guys. Like I said, our messaging is very, very clear. And one of the things that we're pushing is to go out and build lead gen assets right now while it's available. And I think the opportunity is greater now than it's ever been in my career for building lead gen assets. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, guys. Take what I say. If you trust us at all, I think right now it is the best time since I've started in SEO and digital marketing to build lead gen assets. So select whatever niche it is, make sure it's viable, make sure that it's a good industry for generating leads and that there's high profit margins so that you can get paid, and then start building lead gen assets in that particular industry, in that vertical. And if you have to, start in your own backyard. And again, all of this the exact method that we're teaching right now was taught in Local Lease Pro, which was available for like $50 for like 8 days. And we're going to relaunch that publicly. It won't be that price anymore. That's for damn sure. But it will be available here in the next few weeks. So if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, you can find out in Local Lease Pro, or you come join the mastermind, you can get it there. But my answer to you, Jeff, would be to go out and start building assets in that industry. Even if you don't have a client in that industry, don't worry about it. Just go out and build some assets. Even if you don't monetize those assets, just build the asset so that you can show data and show proof that you know what you're doing, and then start contacting business owners in that industry and show them your data, right? Data speaks, guys. A promise, saying to a business owner, hey, I can do this, this, and this, and that for you. They have to take that on your word, right? They have to take you at your word, and it's a leap of faith for them unless you can show them data. Now, data doesn't lie, right? If you can show them hard data, then that'll do the selling for you, right?